Okay, so we have completed the book, and I just want to start off with just like a little dip a toe in the water, some opinions that we have on the book. I did not like the book at the beginning, but I actually really liked it towards the end. Like the middle, I really enjoyed it. What were your guys' thoughts? Like it, not like it?
I was kind of the same. I didn't like it at the start because it was really slow and boring, and then it got pretty good towards the middle. And then towards the end, I felt like it was getting a little more boring.
Yeah.
But I feel like overall, it was a pretty decent book.
I wrote that it was like a little. It was very wordy, but like at the ending, it was just like it felt like filler about Nantucket. It was really just. But I liked figuring out what happened with all like the people when they got back from like a terrible thing. And that brings me into one of the obstacles. Trying to go back into normal human life after being stuck in that ship for 3, 4, 6 months.
Yeah.
And one part it was saying how recovery is a theme that I saw. Page 191, their digestive system had not become used to the large quantity of food, and it took them months to be able to gain back their strength and their muscle because they were just like really like.
I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, because I would think that like when you start eating again, like you just like go back to the way you were, but it took like months to even get back half the way they were.
Even if they were eating, like it said, thousands of calories, they still wouldn't gain all that weight back. Even if they ate more than normal.
And on page 179, it saw the map and it pointed out the pinpoints of the traveling. And I really just thought that it put it in perspective of how far they traveled and how long it traveled. And when it was number 1, the Essex attacked on November 20th, and then it went down. And the main points, like the biggest things that stuck out to me is the attack, Henderson Island, separating from each other, the deaths, and the executions. So the executions were where like I really was like I don't know, it just really stuck out to me. It was like not like just the fact that you're eating people, but like the fact that you're killing them to eat them. It's like harvesting like a pig on a farm.
Were you guys surprised that the people on the island survived?
No.
Yeah, I kind of wasn't either. I was like, I figured they'd be better off than the people in the whaleboat.
Yeah, but then they were like, the water supply.
Yeah, I was a little surprised at that. Like they said there was like no water, like they couldn't access the water that
Yeah,
they
the
did
stream
before.
never came above water or something, or the salt water at least.
And I thought that was like, and I thought the birds would come back at least a little bit. But I mean, like, I suppose it was 3 people. You're trying to feed 3 people. But
Yeah, I still think it would have been. I still think they probably had the. I mean, both rides suck, but they had a better.
Right, the
ride.
other ones they were like wilted and they were sitting in the boat like this, and the other ones they could at least move around.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, my themes were rescue, home, and acclimation. Because I had to acclimate back home.
Oh, that's close to mine. Recovery.
Yeah.
Mine were morals, instincts, and recovery. Now, please, expand on home. I would like to know what you put for home.
Well, one of my quotes is, as Pollard began to make his way towards home, people moved aside to let him pass, no one said a word. So I think people were probably shocked that they were still alive, and they probably... You know when, like, something bad happens, you just, like, take it in, you don't want to say anything? I feel like that's how it was. And so I feel like as they got home, they probably had a lot to overcome and a lot to get used to. So, yeah.
One thing about going home is the fact that Pollard had to tell his aunt that he ate his cousin. Not only ate him, executed and then ate him. I wouldn't be able to recover. Oh, one of my curiosities, how could they go back to sea so quickly? They went back onto a ship afterwards. I would never step foot on a ship again after that happened. I couldn't. And like you ate your cousin, someone you were sworn to protect, and you had to go and tell that mother that you ate someone you were sworn to protect. I couldn't. I don't know what I would do. I couldn't go back so quickly like he did.
And then he immediately got in another shipwreck.
That's just bad luck at that point. Like, you gotta stop.
No, I quit. that down from my thing that he has like bad luck because
Yeah,
he
that was
saved
the
the
big
two
thing
brothers.
that I focused on, like the whole like misfortune, like not just with Pollard but also Chase. Like, but it was different. Like Pollard, his bad luck was with his career, and then Chase, it was like the opposite. His bad luck was like with
Relationships.
his home life.
family.
Yeah, he had 4 wives. Two of them died, and then the other one cheated on him.
Yeah, I wrote that down. They had bad luck in family relationship and then bad luck with being on the sea. And I was just
At that point, you just gotta stop.
just
Yeah,
after
It's not
did.
for you.
after 2 months, got another wife. Got another wife, dead. Got another wife, dead. Got another wife, cheated on him. Got another wife, dead. Got another wife. He was like, I'll give up the sea thing. And then no one wanted Pollard to ride a ship ever again because he kept sinking them.
Yeah.
And did you see one of the people that was on the island died in a hurricane? He got lost in a
Oh
hurricane.
my god.
Don't go back on sea.
This is why you don't do
Don't
that.
go back on the sea.
Gosh,
You
I don't
had
know.
to eat people. You had to survive. You had such little resources, but you're like, I'm gonna go back on the sea. There's other professions. Be like Pollard and be like a lookout. I know it's
Exactly.
the lowest rung. It's like the lowest of
Yeah.
the social ladder, but he
They
was
made-
happy. He was fat and happy. That's what they called
That's
him.
why they made it sound like his like life afterwards was like really dull and boring, but it's like
was
the other
fat
guys
and jolly.
the other guys had terrible things happen to him.
Yeah,
so-
the other ones were dead, and the other one, like his 4 wives died. So I don't know. I'd rather be fat and happy or have sorrow. I think I'm choosing fat and happy.
I think they mentioned though, like that the big thing with Chase, like why he was doing it, was revenge. Like
Right.
he wanted to kill the whale or
Yeah.
something like that. I don't know.
That's what they said. Like a lot of whaling ships that came out of Nantucket wanted to do was
Yeah.
to kill the whale.
Because Chase says that he denies it and everything, but like everyone was like the look in his eyes, yada yada yada. One question I have. At the last epilogue thing, it went on for like 4 pages about how the one whale and they cut the blubber and they brought down the whale. Was that the whale or was that a completely unrelated
I
whale?
have no idea.
I think it was just an unrelated one. But
Why
like,
did they just say an unrelated and then they like caged up those bones? What's so special about that whale? But also it was funny that they like poked it and it exploded and like threw them back. I thought that was funny. But like why bring up that completely unrelated whale for like 6 pages?
Yeah, I know. Sometimes the author kind of likes to ramble a little bit.
yeah,
About
for sure.
unrelated things. They were talking about like what happened in the ship, and then they're like, in 1970, someone was starved in the desert, and then that goes on for like 6 pages, and then it was like back to the whale, like it like pretend like it never did that.
Yeah.
The author gets a little wordy, and sometimes it's just like it's jumpy. It's very jumpy. The author's craft and like the text structure. I said it became less storytelling, more nonfiction and factual. No more figurative language and imagery about what happened. Still, everything is in chronological order, though. So, like by 1835 on page 20, and then by page 28, it's like by 1870, and keeps going down that way. Well, it keeps going up in time, if you think. I don't know, but it's still very jumpy in time and in certain like location too. Talking about Nantucket, and then you're talking about Harvard, and then you're talking about something in Asia.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
Sir Nathaniel, you can calm down.
One thing I noticed was that map, it's like a long distance, but 93 days, you think they would have gone farther than that.
But one thing that I put for that one, I can't remember, where did I put it? They kept having to shorten sail, which put them back so much time. Anyways, but they kept having to shorten sail, which really cut down their time. So they were just like sitting still on the water for a long time.
Yeah.
For days, weeks, they were just like sitting there floating instead of like moving forward, which is actually really depressing.
And then I thought it was kind of interesting how they couldn't go back to Nantucket for a little bit because they were too weak to even travel out of South America.
Oh yeah.
Recovery was like big in this last one,
Yeah.
but
What do you guys think about like Nantucket's dying culture and stuff?
that is very intriguing that you bring that up.
Yeah.
Like whaling's sort of depleting and everything, but please expand on why you brought that up, please.
Well, I thought it was interesting because all of that whaling, you'd think it would affect like the population and stuff, but apparently it didn't, right?
Yes.
But the whales became more aggressive, so maybe that is what contributed to people not wanting to whale as much.
Yeah, because I mean, like, they did attack, and there's many, many stories of people being stranded at sea.
Yeah, and then I have a quote. It says, "Then just 2 years later, in 1848, came the discovery of gold in California. Hundreds of Nantucketers surrendered to the lure of easy wealth in the West."
Yeah, they said it went down from like 10,000 to like 3,000, right?
Yeah.
That's
So
crazy.
your whole culture is like whaling, and then you like hear gold in the West, and you just ditch it all.
They're like, I don't care about
And
whaling.
then, and then it says, I'm trying to find it. Nantucket, once the whaling capital of the world, was all but a ghost town by the time the last of the Essex survivors had passed away. On page 227.
That's like by the start of their career, so they're like in their 30s and their 20s and everything.
Yeah.
They're
It's
living
a-
life,
it's a
living like
roaring
this.
high.
And then they're like, oh yes, whale, kill whale. And then like it all gets so fast in like 50 years, like kaput on the whaling.
I think it was kind of interesting because it, I don't know, I kind of like history stuff, and so when it was talking about how like everything switched to like the gold rush, I think it's kind of interesting how you can like, there's all these stories from like all around the United States, and for example, like this one, it's like this whole culture was whaling, and then everybody just switched to the gold rush and went out to California.
I feel cultures can die very quickly based on money, greed, another
And that surprises me because remember at the start of the book when they were talking about
like how tight knit
how
the community
tight
was, and they
their
didn't want
culture
anybody
was?
else.
Yeah.
They didn't like outsiders. They loved their whaling. They loved everything. They were so.
I have a question about that. Do you guys think that big fire contributed to that? Like people leaving?
I didn't even think about that.
Because
I
they
mean-
had that giant fire that burned down like a third of the city.
Oh.
And all that whale oil caught on fire and like
Oh, yeah.
destroyed everything.
Okay. Yeah,
Do you
probably.
think people were like sick of rebuilding? It was like, yeah, I'm just gonna go get gold.
They probably were like how when they were talking about the whale being cut, how labor intensive killing one whale is.
I know.
And that's their entire thing. And then also like killing it, the whale population is gonna suffer some effects.
Yeah.
And then it just takes a lot of work, and it's not terribly money. Like it doesn't get you all that money, but gold, with the gold rush and everything,
Yeah.
you find some, you hit a jackpot, and you're like, town's rich.
Mm-hmm.
But when people leave, then like the culture leaves with it, and so everything kind of dissipates.
Yeah, it was kind of sad. A little bit of a sad ending, but
Move to Nantucket then.
they were a little weird. So
They were a little weird and incestual, so it's okay. One thing that kind of leads with like community and that instincts, that I saw a lot of things to do with instincts in this last ending of the book. So, on page 189, this deals with instincts and morals, but they had a compulsive need to tell their story. Like, you have an instinctual moral need to make sure everyone knows that your story, like, you had to eat these people or else you would have died. Like, please, like, understand me. Like, you can't, like, lose those relationships that you've built just because, like, you had to eat someone to survive.
yeah.
Like, and also on page 180, the sailor plunged his hand into the slave's eviscerated body and plucked out the liver and ate it raw. That's like savagery.
It's disgusting.
That was insane. Like that image that was put into my mind. The author, I will say, had a very gruesome way of describing words to make it really pop out in your brain.
He kind of made well, I mean, I guess it kind of like shows like the severity of the situation, but he made him sound like very savage.
He did, yeah. But I mean, like, you gotta resort that way. It's an instinct to, like, survive. You will do anything to survive.
Yeah.
And, also with, like, the eating people, shame, unjust, and horror. So those three things, when they came back, they were an abolitionist, like, island. And so when they found out, like, the first, like, 6 to die were African Americans, they were, like, really, they did not want to mention it. They completely erased the fact. And, like, also, Chase, he was a bit greedy when he got back, and he was like, I was a great hero. I was amazing. I was wonderful. I did this, and this. Like on page, which one was it? Okay, page 200 to 210, when they were talking about like him writing and how like they all recovered, he would go back and like erase things. He refused to say that George Pollard wanted to go to Society Islands and say that everyone was in agreement to go sail to Cape Cod. But no one wasn't, and he was very greedy. But also, everyone wanted to forget the fact that even the island, and then they brought in a bunch of like African American speakers to try and be like, I'm sorry we ate 6 African people. Please come speak at our island. What a weak apology.
Right.
So.
Oh, I had one real life connection.
Oh,
and not in the
bring
way
it.
you're gonna think, because I'm not a cannibal.
Oh.
They talked about
Nolan ate his twin, so.
It might have been when they were talking about like black speakers, but there was this slave that I might go off topic here, but for spring break I went down to South Carolina, and near Charleston there was a slave that stole a ship from the Confederates and brought it to the Union up to Nantucket, and they were talking about that guy in the book.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's actually really cool.
Yeah, I can't remember what his name was, but I was reading that. I was like, this is definitely, because I read a sign next to like a harbor in Charleston, and it was talking about that guy.
That's actually really
That
cool.
is really cool,
Yeah.
yeah.
Speaking of connections, dare I say I had some connections to cereal? Dare I say it? Dare I say it, guys? Dare I say it? Let's get into it. All right. One thing is that both the Essex ship and like Hayes, like crime, Adnan's crime or whatever, they both had like an obsessive amount of media surrounding them. The amount of books, Moby Dick, one of like the most famous books, is based off this.
Yeah.
And there's like articles, newsletters, like history books written about the Essex, and then for Hayes' case, there's podcasts, multiple different podcasts, news articles, and we're learning about it in a history class, an English class. Like, it's both these things have become so engraved in like our educational systems.
Yeah.
And that's one connection that I saw.
That's a good connection.
Any other questions that anyone else had?
No, not really.
Okay.
I feel like everything I have is just stuff we covered already. Oh.
Yeah, I basically just did the events, the death of the culture, and then what the survivors did after they got back.
Yeah, so everything like went through account, chronological order. Both kind of liked the book. Got really boring at the end. There's one thing that I want to hit on that I really, really liked. I really, really liked the last sentence that it ended on. The bones may be all that are left on page 238. I don't know. It really just like, I don't know. It was so poetic. It was so poetic.
Compared to the rest of the book.
Right? And it was just like the bones are all like, really, that's true. Like history, culture, everyth's dying. Like memories are
Ooh,
dying.
that is a good point.
And like the only things that remain are like boats, because that ship was wrecked. Their 6 months journey literally only lives in like written word of people that can't be truly trusted. And I see something. What really happened on those whaleboats that you wrote down?
Sorry?
I wrote like what really happened on those whaleboats.
Oh, yeah.
Because we don't truly know. People lie. If people like
And
memories
if you're,
die.
Especially chains.
And if you're like delirious and losing it,
And you're going through all that, like things aren't going to be accurate. So like we don't truly know. And like it's been hundreds of years.
do you think maybe that's why everybody was so adamant about like telling their side of the story? Like everybody, it seemed like all the survivors wanted to say something about the story, but like they all wanted to pitch in their own little details.
Yeah.
Right. They like because everyone kind of like they either forgot like major in details or like made themselves out to be the hero, so they wanted their own
Yeah.
words to be shown. And like it really only touches on Chase and Pollard, but they forget like they like had only like a half a page for all the other ones.
Yeah.
People who a lot of them turned their backs on Nantucket.
Especially, it seems like a lot of them just moved on really fast.
Yeah. And
So,
like that community at the beginning kind of broke apart at the end. Like Chase, page 205, where he sailed as a first mate in Florida, no Nantucketers on the ship. Immediately, for years, he wanted nothing to do with Nantucket. The only person who really did was George. Everyone left. People went to Boston. People went to New York. They forgot about Nantucket.
yeah.
But in the beginning and on the boats, they were like, I only want to be near Nantucketers.
Yeah.
So it's just like, it's weird to see how their recovery process like took them away from like the place that they were like born, raised, and like were so adamantly
Yeah,
being
I
apart.
blame
Neither do I. But it's just like really, it's odd because like they were like on the boats. They wanted all the Nantucketers. They wanted to protect the Nantucketers. On my old one-pagers, they were saying how being a Nantucketer helped them, like, saved them a little bit because they had that community and people to rely on. And then I'm also surprised none of them, like, stayed at least a little bit friends afterwards. You know what? If I ate someone with my pal, I'd have at least a trauma bond with them that I would, like, talk to them. Write a letter every once in a while.
Yeah.
Right.
It was just really crazy how fast they moved on.
I mean, I don't blame them. I feel like I'd do the same thing. So.
I couldn't. I'd stick on it for a while.
I would not. Okay, but like you'd always have memories of what happened. Like if you just move on, then you don't have to be reminded of it.
Yeah, but like page 117, like they could scarcely crawl around the boat on our hands and knees. You were stuck with these people like in your worst moments. I'd at least write them a letter. Be like, hey pal, eaten anyone lately?
Yeah.
Anything else that you guys want to add?
You were talking about like how they really tried to move on after it.
Mm-hmm.
But like even with how much they like tried to do that, I'm trying to figure out how to word it. Sorry.
No, don't worry.
Like they seemed really like stuck on some of the things that happened. Like some guy like talked about how Pollard had this thing like in his cabin, I think, like right above his bed.
Oh.
And he could just reach
Like
up
the
and grab
food
food.
stash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That stood out to me a lot.
I guess they did stick on it, but like it wasn't told because like no one back then, mental health wasn't a big thing. So obviously you're not gonna be like, yeah, you guys are right, yeah. But I guess we never really touched really a lot on the characterization of the two main ones, Owen Chase. It was really like, well, not cool, but like interesting to see how George and Chase, their personalities completely flipped. And so like George, he was, take it away, because I know that you got some characterization down on there.
I don't know where to start. I feel like if you say something, I can probably go from there.
Okay, so page 212. He's incapable of mocking, so he was of the memory of those who were lost. He was a very respectful guy. And on the ship, he became less decisive, and in the opposite of Chase, while Chase, he was very optimistic and hopeful.
Yeah, and then it said like Pollard was more of like the cheery guy like after the whole thing. Yeah, so that was pretty interesting.
So, is that all we got?
I think so.
All right. Peace out, guys.